it's done wrong, it's wrong. If they're holding the bat the wrong way, it's wrong. You got to flip it around, and unfortunately, the Amway teams have a lot of people doing it the wrong way for their own reasons, and most of them don't even know why they're doing it the wrong way. That's just what they're told, and either they're brainwashed, loyal followers, faithful people, however you want to design it, most of them go broke doing it the wrong way. And unfortunately, people like Glenn's dad have some other reason for staying. There's some other mental, psychological reason for staying in something that he should obviously quit. So I'll be quiet and I'll let you comment because I didn't want to hog the conversation.
Okay, so one thing Marco has mentioned, and I think he's right, when you're talking about an MLM product, there's a lot of competition. You have Amazon, you have Target, you have Walmart, and why can't I just get a product like Marco was doing something the other night on yesterday about this coffee MLM guy and talking about how you can get 3 boxes of coffee for like $50. I'm like, I can get 2 gigantic things of Folgers coffee that's going to last me 6 months for $40. I don't there's just, you can't sell the product. Like, that's what's difficult because people are like, why am I going to pay twice as much or, 150% more for something that I've never heard of, as opposed to a brand name product that I could get at Target or that I could just click a button and it can be delivered right to my door. Like, how can somebody feasibly make a living selling multi-level marketing products when you have that type of competition and earn a living? I'm not saying that you can't make like a part-time, like maybe you can find customers that want to buy very few products, but you're never going to be that millionaire guy, or you're never going to do what they say or show you. That stuff's not going to work. You can't feasibly do it because the people that are at that level got it right away, and it's almost impossible in the 99.7%.
Yeah, let me step in real quick, Kevin, because I've said before on our show, if I was king for a day, I would outlaw MLM because it is so prone to abuse. However, I don't think I'm ever going to be king for a day, and I think it's a bridge too far
I'll tell you what,
to expect the FTC to actually outlaw MLM. And so what I'm calling for is for the FTC to make it across the board, across the entire industry, a minimum of 50% of the products or services must be sold to customers who are not part of the MLM compensation plan, real customers. And if they don't, they should be labeled as an illegal pyramid and shut down. I believe that if the FTC did that you would see almost all MLMs either go out of business completely or do what AdvoCare did in 2019 when the FTC went after them. They abandoned their MLM compensation plan and went to a direct sales. Direct sales is there's no upline, no downline. Each individual is connected directly to the company, just like you did when you were, selling the different gases, the bottles of gases. You didn't have an upline or downline. You just were connected to the company out there selling the stuff. And if that occurred, it would fix the whole situation. Now, there's a guy by the name of Noah Phillips who at the time was an FTC commissioner. And if you go to MLMconference.com, he was part of that year one conference. They've done it 3 times now. Marco was the latest one. But he was at that very first one, Noah Phillips. It's in the first session. You can go to MLMconference.com. It's actually an anti-MLM conference. And what he said was the FTC is supportive of MLMs. So I don't even think you're going to be able to get the FTC to completely 180 change their minds and say, now we're not supportive of MLMs. What you have to do is convince them that there are criteria that define what a legitimate MLM is as opposed to an illegal pyramid. And they don't even have to use 50%. They could say it's got to be at least 2/3 or 3/4 have to be retail sales, whatever their number. I think that it's a little bit arbitrary to say 50%, but that's where the FTC has settled with some companies out of court. You know, they sue them and then they settle out of court before a trial. That's basically where Vima and Herbalife ended up with settlements in 2016, was they had to have at least half of their products going to customers. And so that just needs to be across the board. And also the tool profit has to be made transparent. You can't have this under the table money where most of their money is coming from the tools and they're not owning up to it. And in fact, most of these people that get into these higher pins, they only achieve that level for a short period of time, and then they fall back 1 or 2 pins. And the only reason they don't have to go back and get a job, like your person had a job on the weekend, is because of the tool scam. The tool scam is what props them up. It's not that they continue to earn the pin that they once made that level, because they fell back. If you're familiar with the term founder's pin, that's where you maintain a level for 12 out of 12 months versus 6 out of 12. So if you're a diamond, it means you did the volume required for a diamond for 6 out of 12 months. If you're a founder's diamond, it's 12 out of 12 months. Now, even if you hold it for 12 months, doesn't mean you continue to hold it, but at least it's a demonstration that you could maintain it for some period of time. And there's very, very, very few founders pins, which to me means they've fallen back at least 1 or 2 pins, but they didn't have to get a job, go back and get a job because the tool scam propped them up. So there's multiple layers to this that makes it terrible. But I don't think you're going to get the FTC to just flat out outlaw MLMs. I think it's a bridge too far. That's my position on this whole thing.
And they shouldn't. So now let me just jump in, because you asked a question. I want to kind of follow up on some of the things that you had said. Let's talk about the price of a product. Now, I grew up in direct sales, and I sold vacuum cleaners with a company called Electrolux. And they were higher priced than most vacuums in a retail store. So you could buy a Hoover for $100 or $200, top of the line Sears for $300 way back then, or Eureka, what any of the other ones. And Electroluxes, we were selling them for $600 or more. And people would say, well, why should I buy that? I could buy another vacuum for less price. And then only people, and I'm going to say this, it's going to sound like a derogatory thing, not towards you though, Kevin, or anybody else that might be listening. It's going to sound condescending, but Electrolux vacuums weren't bought. They were sold, meaning you needed a direct salesperson to go in there and give people the reasons why they'd want to pay the higher price, justify the higher price, and you needed a direct salesperson to be able to do that. So when done right, you can sell an overpriced product, meaning higher priced product, with a direct sales rep that educates the customer. So whether the sales rep is doing it, the company's doing it, that's why the whole, you can buy Folgers for, 5 pounds of Folgers versus the Ganoderma coffee that Jay Nolan was selling. If Jay Nolan spent more time on justifying the value of the product as opposed to just calling it coffee, then the arguments about price fall flat. So now idiots, and I got to call him an idiot, like Marco, he just says, that's a cliche. Look at this, Mingils saying vacuums aren't bought, they're sold. Anybody in direct sales, your insurance guys, your financial planners, you realize that a better product at a higher price is sold. They're not just bought. People don't line up like on a Sunday at a bakery like they used to buy muffins or cookies. They're sold by a direct sales force. That's why the Amazon argument falls flat, the Costco argument falls flat, because you're not comparing the same thing. Now, people that are uneducated or just plain unsophisticated or just plain stupid that don't understand that argument realize that you need, this goes back to Scott's thing about why multi-level marketing or direct sales needs to be there. You need to have a direct sales force that's educated to be able to show people some of the benefits to justify perhaps a higher price or answer those questions. Why would you exchange convenience for buying from me through this organization. Most, and I'm going to tell you this, so this is my anti-MLM admission, most MLMers do it wrong. They've never sold anything in direct sales. They don't know anything that I just said. They listen to their upline. A famous gentleman, Dr. Charles King, who taught at the University of Illinois in Chicago, said the biggest problem with MLM is upline teaches downline. Most of them have inadequate uplines that don't know how to do the teaching. So that answers some of your questions right there. And also justifies when it's done right, MLM is good. Unfortunately, there's too much of it done wrong. And the ones that make the highlights are out there in abundance. And the FTC can have a field day picking them off. And a lot of the anti-MLMers do the same thing because uneducated people become distributors. And think about this. I'll just say it like this. What qualifies you to become an MLM distributor?
Nothing. Money.
Nothing. Your payment clears. That's the only thing justifies an MLM distributor. And can you have a microphone and speak? Of course. Now, I don't know a lot about what you do, but let's go to you as a sports announcer. The guy who's doing the interview always holds the microphone. He never gives the microphone away. Why? Because if you give the microphone away, you lose control, and who knows what this guy is going to say. So, unfortunately, in MLM, as in YouTubers as well, influencers, quote unquote, if they have the ability to turn on a microphone and speak at will, they say the goofiest friggin' things. And the FTC obviously is designed to be able to stop that misinformation, the wrong information, the lies, all of that sort of stuff. And unfortunately, even people that are successful, making money isn't a barometer of your level of knowledge of MLM, because there's a lot of MLM millionaires that are complete idiots. And they give Marco and people like Marco plenty of ammunition to highlight them on a regular basis. So I hope that answers some of the questions that you might want to ask, when we can have a civil conversation.
So why, I do want to ask you though, why is Marco an idiot? Like why do you say he's an idiot? Marco is very well read. He does his research. He's not making this stuff up. Like he's not pulling these facts out of thin air. It's obvious he does a lot of research on this stuff. It's obvious that he knows what he's talking about. Is he 100% correct all the time? Nobody is. But I think you guys have a lot more in common with him than you actually think. And I think it'd be great for the entire MLM, anti-MLM, pro-MLM. You guys have got to talk sometime. It has to happen. Everybody wants it to happen.
Let me use as an example on his last video, Meet Jay Nolan. You may not know this, but so I'll just kind of inform you. Well, you don't know what I'm going to tell you next.
No, I don't.
I know Jay Nolan for years, and I know the real story behind what happened with Jay Nolan. And here's the way it works. Now, I'm not talking down to you. I'm just talking about stuff that even I need to be reminded of. What you read in a one-sided FTC judgment is their version of their story. And to have a whole entire YouTube session on the FTC version as if that's the truth, and then to make comments about that, shows how you might sound smart to people that don't know the truth, but to people that know what happened, it's you're making an idiot of yourself.
But the FTC thing, that wasn't the whole video. He was talking about the compensation plan and all the other nonsense, the word salad that this guy kept spitting, and that's all these high-end MLM distributors. They all make these claims. The David E. Moon ETAs, they break off, and my system's the best because this and this and this. And at the end of the day, They're all the same. Peter, you said you sold electric.
Oh, hold on. I will agree with you when you're right. So these MLMers, they go out there and they do their stupid math to try to oversell the compensation plan, and they start using, hypergalactic terms, as far as, your Triple Crown, blah, 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 blah. And then when you get 57 people on your 47th level because you did a 10 level, 10 times down, you just say, okay, that's stupid. That's MLM math. Like you just lost me there. Either you're dumb, you're stupid, or you're just regurgitating. Now I have to, if I'm gonna build the business with you, I have to build the business in spite of what you just said. Like that was just stupid. So there's a lot of MLM people. As soon as they get into that, okay, I'm going to tell you how wonderful this compensation plan is, and we'll talk about your pink Cadillac and your multi-million-dollar bonus that you're going to hit and all that sort of stuff. I'm like, you guys are so overselling this. MLM is a good part-time gig. Here's the way it should be sold. MLM is a good part-time gig. And if you can get a lot of people making a little bit of money, you can become rich. Taylor Swift, right? She makes a boatload of money. Let's take away the concerts. Let's talk about just the albums that she sells. She makes a few bucks per album or whatever else it might be that's sold. She makes a little bit of money on a lot of people, and everybody's satisfied. So MLM, in my opinion, I've said this for as long as I've been in MLM, they're selling it wrong. MLM is a great part-time gig. And if you get enough people doing it, you can become rich. And that's true. Because if you're getting paid, just like an athlete, just like anybody else that's getting paid on a little bit from a lot of people, you can become rich. You have a
that's what happened to me when I was younger. That's what it was. Selling and making a little bit off a lot of people. That's a little bit off of each one of the products that I sold. That's exactly how it happened.
And what's wrong with that story? So what's wrong with that story? So that's my biggest complaint. That's my biggest complaint. So when you get a guy that talks about all the other bullshit, that's when I say it's done wrong.
But that's the majority of the bullshit, right? That's what Marco is pointing out, that he's pointing out all the bullshit that goes into this. He's just making people aware, hey, pay attention to this. This guy's saying this. This is wrong here. He's pointing out all the bullshit that comes from it. And you guys know that there's a lot of bullshit.
Right. Well, that's why we say when MLM... Well, hold on a second. That's why we say when it's done right, it's done right. When it's done wrong, it's done wrong. And there's plenty done wrong. And Marco, as many other people, point out the things that are done wrong. Unfortunately, Marco takes it to the next level. So just like the Jay Nolan talking about the compensation plan takes it to the next level, Marco takes it to the next level. I'll use another example relative to Jay Nolan. He says the story that Jay Nolan made up about the disgruntled employee or disgruntled distributor that was fired. It's a made-up story. That's what Marco says. Marco, you overstepped your bounds. You're talking about stuff you have no concept of. That's a real story. The idea that the guy got
debate him. Why don't you guys debate him?
Because
or go on a show or vice versa.
My personal feelings are this. Well, I can talk about these things to you or some other people. Marco is not the kind of person I need to talk to about this. First, because of the things that he did to me. If you remember the way the relationship started. Second, the other things that he said. Third, I'm not forgiving. So the next part is I'm not forgiving. You never give idiots like that a chance.
You need to be forgiving. You need to be forgiving, Peter. Life's about forgiveness.
No.
You'll be a happier person. You'll be a happier person.
Here's the deal.